Devaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So continuing with our discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 15th chapter, the Pandavas retire timely, text number 40 onwards. Visrijya tatra tatsarvam dukulvalyadikam nirmamo nirahankara sanchinna shesha bandhana. So Sud Goswami is further explaining, Maharaj Yudhishthir at once relinquished all his garments, belt and ornaments of the royal order and became completely disinterested and unattached to everything. So Maharaj Yudhishthir, because he heard that Krishna has left the planet, so he prepared to leave the kingdom. So he at once relinquished all his garments, belt and ornaments of the royal order. So he was completely detached. To become purified of material contamination is a necessary qualification for becoming one of the associates of the Lord. No one can become an associate of the Lord or can go back to Godhead without such purification. So, of course, the method here that we adopt is not to give up everything, it's to get attached to Krishna, then automatically the detachment will come. But anyway, the detachment has to be there. Maharaj Yudhishthir, therefore, to become spiritually pure, at once gave up his royal opulence, relinquishing his royal garments. Wait. The kashaya or saffron loincloth of a sannyasi indicates freedom from all attractive material garments, and thus he changed his dress accordingly. Means putting on a loincloth or what is called as a kopin, that is considered as part of renunciation, part of giving up everything, sign of detachment. He became disinterested in his kingdom and family and thus became free from all material contaminations or material designation. People are generally attached to various kinds of designations, the designations of family, society, country, occupation, wealth, position, and many others. As long as one is attached to such designation, he is considered materially impure. So this attachment is a problem. Designations is not the problem. But our attachment to the titles, that's why Nectar Devotion says, Sarva Upadhi Vinirmuktam. Sarva Upadhi. Upadhi means the titles. Titles, we get attached to the titles. I am this, I am that, but those titles are pertaining to the body, not to the soul. And bhakti starts, or bhakti takes us to Sarva Upadhi Vinirmuktam. Means all upadhis will be gone. We won't be attached to any titles. Titles are there for the service, then it is okay, but we won't be attached. As long as one is attached to such designations, he is considered materially impure. The so-called leaders of men in the modern age are attached by national consciousness, but they do not know that such false consciousness is also another designation of the materially conditioned soul. One has to relinquish such designations before one can become eligible to go back to Godhead. Foolish people adore such men who die in national consciousness. But here is an example of Maharaj Yudhishthir, a royal king who prepared himself to leave this world without such national consciousness. And yet he is remembered even today because he was a great pious king, almost on the same level with the personality of Godhead Sri Ram. And because people of the world were dominated by such pious kings, they were all happy in all respects, and it was quite possible for such emperors to rule the world. So Maharaj Yudhishthira was so detached. At once he gave up the kingdom. And he wasn't attached to the titles. There's a Prabhupada is mentioning the leaders today, they're so much attached to title, to the position, to the chair, they don't want to give it up. Give it up. Even till the last moment of their death, they don't want to give it up. Text 41. Vacham juhav manasi tat pranitare chatam mrityavapanam sotsargam tam panchatvehi ajohvit. Then he amalgamated all the sense organs into the mind, then the mind into life, life into breathing, his total existence into the embodiment of the five elements, and his body into death. Then, as pure self, he became free from the material conception of life. Maharaj Yudhishthira, like his brother Arjun, began to concentrate and gradually became freed from all material bondage. First, he concentrated all the actions of the senses and amalgamated them into the mind. Or, in other words, he turned his mind towards the transcendental service of the Lord. He prayed that since all material activities are performed by the mind in terms of actions and reactions of the material senses, and since he was going back to Godhead, the mind would wind up its material activities and be turned towards the transcendental service to the Lord. There was no longer a need for material activities. So mind, first thing he did is he turned it towards the service of the Lord. Actually, the mind plays the real game, like we were talking about that day. We were discussing. if the concept or the thought is there in the mind, and then sooner or later it will turn into action or come out as words. So mind has to be controlled, either positively or for positive thinking, or at least to stop from negative thinking. Mind has to be controlled. And that control will come when we associate with the right people, right books and right people. Then slowly, mind will come in control. Actually, the activities of the mind cannot be stopped, for they are the reflection of the eternal soul, but the quality of the activities can be changed from matter to the transcendental service of the Lord. The material color of the mind is changed when one washes it from contaminations of life, breathing, and thereby frees it from the contamination of repeated births and deaths, and situates it in pure spiritual life. All is manifested by the temporary embodiment of the material body, which is a production of the mind at the time of death. And if the mind is purified by practice of transcendental loving service to the Lord and is constantly engaged in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord, there is no more chance of the mind's producing another material body after death. It will be freed from the absorption in material contamination. The pure soul will be able to return home back to Godhead. So the mind creates all the contaminations, and the same mind, like we studied in 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says, mind, if it is controlled, it's the best of the friends. But if it is not in control or not controlled, it's worst of the enemies. So the mind, the next body actually is created in the mind. Why? Because of consciousness. Actually, the consciousness, whatever consciousness we develop in this lifetime, that is the body that we're going to get next lifetime. So all that is stored in the mind. Consciousness is a symptom of the soul, but consciousness does not change or does not get affected unless until the mind gets affected. So somehow or the other, we have to control the mind and engage it in the right way. So more we engage it in the a positive direction, positive manner, more it will come under control. Slowly. but we have to do it. Tritve hutva cha panchatvam tacchakitva ajuhon muni sarvam atmani juhovida brahmani atman anam avyaye. Thus annihilating the gross body of five elements into the three qualitative modes of material nature. He merged them in one essence and then absorbed that essence in the self Brahman, which is inexhaustible in all circumstances. All that is manifested in the material world is a product of Mahat Tattva Avyakta, and things that are visible in our material vision are nothing but combinations and permutations of such variegated material products. So again, Mahat Tattva Avyakta. Avyakta means unmanifested. And when it becomes manifest, it's called Pradhan. So again, what is Mahat Tattva? Five working senses, five knowledge acquiring senses, five sense objects, five, or five, eight elements, and like that. Three material modes of nature. So these are all material elements of which the universe is made of. And whatever we see is nothing but combination and permutation of such variegated material products. But the living entity, the soul, is different from such material products. It is due to the living entity's forgetfulness of his eternal nature as eternal servitor of the Lord, and his false conception of being a so-called Lord of the material nature that he is obliged to enter into the existence of false sense enjoyment. Because we have forgotten that we are servants of Krishna, that we belong to the spiritual world, we are put in the material world, in all these elements, 26, 28 element, depends whichever Sankhya philosopher we talk to. And we think we are the enjoyers. We are trying to enjoy these material elements. The body is made of material elements. The other bodies are made of material elements. Nothing else. Just like in the material world, the relationship between man and woman is considered to give the topmost happiness. Everything, the whole world is, in one sense, is called Mathun Agar. It's a Agar. Agar means a prison house, like Karagar. Agar is a prison house. And we are stuck here because of our inclination for sex life. Now, if we analyze it, what is man's body and what is woman's body? Basically, it's made of these elements, nothing else. And Prahlad Maharaj says in seventh canto, when we come to that canto, this relationship between man and woman is what? It's rubbing the two pieces of skin together. That's all. And we think it's the highest form of pleasure. The whole world is running crazily about it after it. And this is what we are running after. This is what the whole purpose of life has become. Men are trying to attract women, women are trying to attract man. For what? Nothing. No higher pleasure. And Bhagavatam says this is what the whole material world is made of. Some few elements, few material elements. And then how it works is when a living entity wants to leave his service as an eternal servitor of the Lord, and he wants to enjoy, so-called enjoy, in this material world, false enjoyment, that he is obliged to enter into the existence of false sense enjoyment. Thus, a concomitant generation of material energies is the principal cause of the mind's being materially affected. Concomitant means the following. After which, what happens is this. Thus, a gross body of 5 elements is produced. Maharaj Yudhishthira reversed the action and merged the 5 elements of the body in 3 modes of material nature. The qualitative distinction of the body as being good, bad, or mediocre is extinguished. And again, the qualitative manifestations become merged in the material energy, which is produced from false sense of pure living being. The qualitative distinction of the body as being good, bad, or mediocre in its 3 modes of nature is extinguished. And again, the qualitative manifestations become merged in the material energy. Means one is no longer enamored, attached, or inspired to enjoy this material body. Then theoretically, they merge in the material element because the soul is no longer interested. When one is thus inclined to become an associate of the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, in one of the innumerable planets of the spiritual sky, especially in Golok Vrindavan, one has to think always that he is different from the material energy. That we are not a product, or we are not controlled by, we are not attached to, we are not bound by, conditioned by this material energy. So every time we have to remind ourselves that I am a spirit soul. I'm not this body. See, chanting and all the other activities that we do in bhakti, study of scriptures, physical service, or any other kind of service, sadhana, they're all very good. They're the perfect practices. But the problem is, if it is not changing our heart, or if we are not doing it diligently, with sincerity, then they just become some rituals. It's not spiritual then, it's just ritual. Rituals will also have an effect sooner or later, but it will take long time. To make it spiritual, we have to put our heart into it. We have to really understand what is the purpose behind all this. When we chant Hare Krishna mantra, we have to understand, we have to really beg Radha and Krishna, please now engage me in your service. I've served this body, I've served the byproducts of this body, I've served this material nature for long enough. Now please engage me in your service. Please let me come to the spiritual platform and let me be engaged in your service. That is the right use of the body actually. Body is needed. Body is a vehicle. It's an instrument for the service of Krishna. So we need the body. But we use the body in wrong ways. That's all. One is different from the material energy. He has nothing to do with it. And he has to realize himself as pure spirit, Brahman, qualitatively equal with the supreme Brahman, Parameshwara. Maharaj Yudhishthira, after distributing his kingdom to Parikshit and Vajra, did not think himself emperor of the world or head of the Kuru dynasty. This sense of freedom from material relations, as well as freedom from the material engagement of the gross and subtle encirclement, makes one free to act as a servitor of the Lord, even though one is in the material world. This stage is called Jivan Mukta stage, or the liberated stage, even in the material world. That is a process of ending material existence. One must not only think that he is Brahman, but must act like Brahman. One who only thinks himself Brahman is an impersonalist, but one who acts like Brahman is a pure devotee. Brahman means the spirit soul. I am spiritual soul. So the act like Brahman is the activity that soul is should be engaged in, which is the service of the Lord, not the service of Maya. So that's the constitutional position. That is our eternal service to Krishna. And that's what we should be engaged in. But not as a ritual way, in a spiritual way. Then it will have real effect. Text 43. Chirvasa niraharo badvang muktamurtaja darshayanatmanurupam jadonmat pishachavat anvekshmano niragada shranvan badiro yatha. After that, Maharaj Yudhishthira dressed himself in torn clothing, gave up eating all solid foods, voluntarily became dumb, and let his hair hang loose. All this combined to make him look like an urchin or madman with no occupation. He did not depend on his brothers for anything, and just like a deaf man, he heard nothing. Why? Why act like that? Because he didn't want to be disturbed by anybody, and he wanted to be able to completely concentrate on Krishna. Thus, being freed from all external affairs, he had nothing to do with the imperial life or family prestige. And for all practical purposes, he posed himself exactly like an inert, mad urchin, and did not speak of material affairs. He had no dependence on his brothers, who had all along been helping him. This stage of complete independence from everything is called the purified stage of fearlessness. So we will study in Bhagavatam later on that there are many stages of taking sannyas. So first stage is Bahudak, Kutichak, then Bahudak, then Parivrajkacharya, then Paramhans. There are different stages. So the stages are basically to make the person slowly become dependent on Krishna and nobody else. No dependence on anybody else, no fear, because once he starts going out, means he has given up the shelter of his relatives, his brothers, his kids. The fearlessness has to come in, and that fearlessness comes when one is dependent upon Krishna. So slowly, his surrender will increase, his dependence will increase on Krishna. And then Krishna, of course, he protects, he provides, everything he takes care of. But that mood has to come from it. So this is what Yudhishthira Maharaj was trying to achieve, and he achieved. This stage of complete independence from everything is also called the purified stage of fearlessness. That's why there's a beautiful bhajan also, no? Bhajahu Reman Giri Nandanandan Abhay Charanaravind. O my mind, worship the lotus feet of Nandanandan, worship the lotus feet of son of Nanda Maharaj. Why? Because that provides Abhay Charana, that makes you Abhay, fearless. Why we are fearful of in this material world? Because we think we have this body. And this body needs all sorts of maintenance. One who comes to that level of surrender, he gets out of this bodily concept of life to begin with. And body is what? Is it so difficult for Krishna to maintain the body? He's maintaining the bodies of so many living entities. Those who don't even do jobs, those who don't even have businesses, those who don't even have homes. He's maintaining them all. So won't he maintain the body of a person who has surrendered unto him? Who has left everything just to be close to him? Of course he will. He has to. But it takes lots of faith. That's all. Because we are given this higher intelligence, higher consciousness as human beings. So we have to understand the position of Krishna and understand our position and understand our relationship with him. When Krishna showed the universal form to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, basically why he had to show that form? Of course, Arjuna asked him, but Krishna, he showed the form because he wanted to put this thought in Arjuna's mind, of course not in Arjuna, in the mind of all of us, that he will take care of us. He will maintain us. There is no way he can forget any living entity. What to speak of a devotee who's completely surrendered unto him, or even is trying to begin surrendering process. Even then Krishna will protect him, provide for him. That faith has to develop, that's all. In the universal form, he showed, oh, my hands and my legs and my eyes and my mouth are everywhere. Of course, that those also mean that he's killing all the demons, but at the same time, he's there everywhere to protect his devotees, to provide for his devotees. And he says in Bhagavad Gita, I do it myself. Yoga kshemam vahami aham. I mean, I do it for my devotees. Personally, he says, I do it. It's not like I get it done by somebody else. Maybe I arrange a demigod to go and take care of my devotee. No, no, no. He says, I take care of them myself. That faith has to develop. Will he? Won't he? He will. He definitely will. He has been doing it, he is doing it, and he will do it. So this is actual sannyas. Sannyas doesn't mean change of dress. Sannyas means change of consciousness. Change of consciousness from enjoying spirit to dependent spirit on Krishna. Change of consciousness from being the controller, proprietor, enjoyer to surrendered helplessness. That is sannyas. So this is what Yudhishthira Maharaj did. He gave up everything and he left. See how Bhagavatam is explaining. He let his hair loose. He was acting like a deaf and dumb person. So means nothing to do with the material affairs anymore. Inside he was completely attached to Krishna. So I'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, you mentioned that when Yudhishthira Maharaj left his land, the throne, he gave it to Parikshit Maharaj and Vraj. Who is that, Prabhuji? Yeah, who is that, Prabhuji? I didn't understand.
Vajranab is great-grandson of Krishna. He was given charge of Mathura. And actually, not in Bhagavatam, but other places it is mentioned, Vajranab was the one who established all these deities in Vrindavan actually. Radha Govindji, Radha Gopinathji, Radha Madan Mohan. Originally he established, and later on, slowly all the 6 Goswamis, they found those deities because they unmanifested kind of, or they were hidden, and then they were established. So it was Vajranab who did that.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
You're welcome. Yes, Archana. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I have 2 questions. One that Abhi, you mentioned one that Yudhishthira wanted torn clothes. So torn clothes, is it specifically one has to wear torn clothes or like? Why?
Basically, it means he wasn't attached anymore. And moreover, one who becomes a sannyasi like that, who gives up, so he has to live on begging. Madhukari, which is called Madhukari actually. So for a beggar, if he wears nice clothes, that doesn't.
No, normal clothes, like not nice, but it's like,
No, he put on torn. This is in fact Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, when he saw Sanatan Goswami in Banaras, he was wearing. He had all the torn clothes, but he had a very nice blanket. His brother-in-law gave him. So Mahaprabhu didn't approve of that. So Sanatan Goswami went and he gave the nice blanket to a beggar and took his torn blanket. And Mahaprabhu was very happy. It's a sign of detachment. Of course, these days it's a fashion to wear torn jeans and torn T-shirt, but that's not the reason sannyasis used to wear that.
and the second question is probably consciousness and soul. When we talk about consciousness, uh, what is the role of soul? And when we talk about soul, what is the consciousness? Is it related or are they different?
Con- Consciousness is a symptom of the soul. If the soul is there in the heart, but the consciousness is spread all over the body. Like if somebody pinches me at the foot, I'll be conscious. I'll find out, yes, somebody has pinched me. So if the consciousness is not there, you can cut the foot and doesn't matter. So it will not have any effect. Of course, they all are related. The consciousness and the subtle body of mind, intelligence, false ego. Of course, they are material, subtle body, but they are all interconnected at very subtle level. So the whatever consciousness we have, it will guide our thought process. Mind is an instrument for the thinking process, but consciousness will guide the thought process. Like if my consciousness is, suppose I have this animal consciousness, so I will start thinking like an animal, and slowly my activities, my words will be like animalistic. So they are all very much interrelated, interconnected. But the original consciousness of the soul is there. It is just covered over by material consciousness. So this is what we have to remove. Is it
So
okay?
when we say that, okay, for example, somebody comes and say, "मैं ये काम कर लूँ," तो when we say, okay, if you're conscious allow, then you do it. If it doesn't allow, then you don't go for it. So what does that mean? Like conscious? Why we use it?
That we refer to Paramatma in our heart. That is the super soul, because he is the one who gives the permission to do something. It says, no, man proposes, God disposes. So that is super soul, who's sanctioning, who's giving the sanction for doing something. But even if it doesn't sanction, if we are so adamant that I have to do it, I want to do it, then he lets us do it. Okay, do it and then enjoy or suffer the results. What to do? Is that okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is one question. You can type it or you can answer it. What are the rituals for wearing Tulsi Mala? Actually, this is my mother's question. She's very much curious about if we are eating lessen pyaj, is it okay to wear tulsi mala and all? So what are the what are the things we need to follow if we are wearing tulsi mala?
See, there are two schools of thought in ISKCON also. One is liberal and one is rigid. So left or right. So I myself, I follow the liberal school, which is you wear the tulsi mala and slowly, because she is a pure devotee, she will remove all these bad habits slowly. Actually, tulsi mala, kanthi mala is worn by a person who has taken a vow that he will follow, like no meat, no onion, no garlic, no liquor, no bad talks. That is the standard. But what I try to profess is you wear it and she will help you also. So it's okay to wear from my viewpoint.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mata. Hare Krishna. So I guess stop here. Full day. Today is you have Ekadashi is today, yeah, right, in India.
Yes.
It's today.
So happy Ekadashi. You all have a wonderful day. Hare
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. Jai Shri Krishna.